Hello everyone, it is Monday morning. We're coming up on 48 hours since Liverpool versus Tottenham Hotspur and the cloud, the storm, the refereeing controversy continues to rumble on. Sunday night saw Liverpool release a statement in reaction to the PGMOL statement that came out shortly after the conclusion of Liverpool's defeat to Tottenham Hotspur. It is incendiary, to say the very least. We're going to be reading through that. There's also some fallout from a variety of different pundits and journalists as well, and a couple of other bits and pieces that have kind of begun to expose themselves in the hours that have followed as well. You can interact with me using the live show chat here on YouTube, so if you've got any strong opinions, then by all means do. There's one here from Protegidu. I genuinely hate the PGMOL and the FA. I wish all of them really bad things I can't say. Right, we've got loads to get through, so I'm going to fly through it. Obviously, Liverpool Statement came out last night, 8 p.m. on the dot. They released the statement. Liverpool Football Club acknowledges PGMOL's admission of their failures last night. It's clear that the correct application of the laws of the game did not occur, resulting in sporting integrity being undermined. That is the headline from Twitter. We'll dive into the article itself, which reads as follows. We've already read the headline. We fully accept the pressures that match officials work under, but these pressures are supposed to be alleviated, not exacerbated by the existence and implementation of VAR. It is therefore unsatisfactory that sufficient time was not afforded to allow the correct decision to be made and that there was no subsequent intervention. That such failings have already been categorised as significant human error is also unacceptable. Any and all outcomes should be established only by the review and with full transparency. This is vital for the reliability of future decision making as it applies to all clubs, with learnings being used to make improvements to processes in order to ensure this kind of situation cannot occur again. In the meantime, we will explore the range of options available, given the clear need for escalation and resolution. That a huge last sentence, which I think is the biggest one from this and the one that's caused the most reaction, which I'll come to. But actually, what I want to focus on is actually the middle bit that kind of gets a little bit lost in it. And it's this, that such failings have already been categorised as significant human error is also unacceptable. Any and all outcomes should be established only by the review and with full transparency. So what Liverpool are saying here is, if your PGMOL are saying they're going to conduct a full review, but actually what they've done is they've already revealed the findings of the review without the review even taking place. They've said it's human error. So what's a review going to reveal? They're going to do this, this dog and pony show of a review, and they've already told us what the outcome's going to be. Now, there's a chance there might be more around that, but Liverpool are saying, well, you've just told us what's happened. It's like, well, if you're saying there needs to be a review, then do the review. But it feels very, a bit like, and again, it's interesting because then we move it on to that last sentence. Liverpool will explore the options available given the need for escalation and resolution. So obviously the idea is that Liverpool feel like they're within their rights to take this further. Now, what we don't know is what kind of further they can take this, what that might look like. But when you've got American owners who are born and raised in a litigious society who love taking things to court, it will be interesting to see what happens with that. But these are some of the interesting things that have kind of come off the back. So a couple of the reactions. So Gary Neville was one of the ones that really stuck with me last night, actually. He tweeted, Jurgen Klopp handled the situation well last night after the game. Most football fans will have had empathy for what happened and recognised it was wrong. However, Liverpool's statement tonight is a mistake. Talk of exploring all options. What does that mean? And sporting integrity are dangerous phrases, along with being vague and aggressive. Sorry we fucked up was enough. I said this last night. Sorry should be respected and not undervalued. This is a snap reaction that can always be wrong, but I feel strongly about it. Obviously, we haven't publicly seen an apology. There's talk that basically Liverpool were contacted by Howard Webb, and effectively that's where the apology has come from. What I think is really interesting about this, and I think this is the thing about Gary Neville sometimes, I think he's a really good pundit, but he, at the risk of falling down the conspiracy trap on this, and this isn't I don't think he's part of a wider conspiracy. I've seen a lot of people saying somebody's gone and had a word with Neville and told him to chill his beans on it. You get a lot of... I don't think Gary Neville wants Liverpool to have more decisions go their way. If I'm being... That's it. That's the simplest I can put that, is as much as he attempts to be a bipartisan representative of football in general, he's not. He's a mank who supports Manchester United to his core. And I can't help but unpick the idea of... And it's interesting. I'm going to talk about Paul Tompkins' latest article. If you haven't read his article on the refereeing decisions and biases and all the data that he's pulled together on this, it's quite shocking how badly Liverpool are done to by the referees in this country. But if I saw that happen to Manchester United at the weekend, and then they kicked off about it, and I'm not sure I would be in Man United's corner, and that's because of tribalism and football bias. As much as I like the idea of thinking, no, for the good of all football, which is a bit of what's in Liverpool Statement as well, of, there needs to be unified rules across the board. The Gary Neville thing, what I don't like about him, it tries to hide his obvious biases, which is fair. That he's been doing that as a pundit for years. You see this whenever something is institutionally wrong, and people go, right, we're going to take a stand against this now. And the amount of people who rise up and go, don't bother, don't waste your time, because there's nothing you can do about it. And I saw this happen when we were protesting ticket prices against Liverpool's owners. They were going to be the £77 ticket. And I got a very educated schoolmate of mine, brilliant Liverpool fan, again, just far more intelligent than I am. And I'm seeing him putting something else on Facebook going, complete waste of time. What's the point? They're never going to change these things. It worked. And the thing is, you're talking about a bigger institution that I think has got a lot more corruption running through it, and a lot more people looking to protect their own self-interest within that. But we've seen it happen plenty of times. If enough rise up and take a stand against things, then positive change can happen. And that's what I think about this. I don't think Gary Neville is prepared to kind of stand up for it, which is mad, because he was one of the ones leading the charge to have an independent football body. I'm not even sure what happened with that, to be perfectly honest. I think it's happening, but it's not happening with anything like the level of sort of noise and fanfare that he was hoping for that to be. There's something fundamentally wrong with how refereeing's done. And again, maybe it's harder to see it when you're biased against Liverpool, but the level of decisions in that game, it was that, and that's what's drawn out. I've sat in this studio on a Monday morning countless times over the last decade, more, 13 years, and variety of studios. And God, that referee was terrible. That was a terrible refereeing performance. That was a shocking decision that referee made. But it wasn't just the referee. It was the referee, the assistant referees, the video assistant referee, the assistant video assistant referee. A litany of mistakes and baffling decisions made both on and off the field. And I think that's worth remembering, which I think is getting overlooked in this. Liverpool have twice lost out on a Premier League title by a point. And both of those times, more significantly the first time, it could be pulled back to a really bad or two really bad refereeing decisions that could have been picked up. Yeah. So Liverpool are understandably going to dig in and fight the corner on this. I'm not against Liverpool doing this. I really like that statement. I don't know where it can go. I don't know what they can do. And I think what the PGMOL have done is try to diffuse it by going human error. And Gary Neville's fell for it, because I think, again, if you're an empathic human being, you can go, I can understand how a human being can make mistakes. The more and more you look into it, I can get the referees on the pitch. I've got no problem with the linesman putting his flag up because he thinks it was offside. But then when three people are sat in a room with television screens watching it back, and they're telling us that they didn't realise that it had been given offside, the original on-the-field decision was offside. They presumed that it had been given as a goal, and they were trying to check against it being a goal, and then therefore went, yeah, it's fine, carry on. I'm sorry, but that's horseshit. That cannot possibly be true. And as I said on a video I did on Saturday night, that means one of two things. Either the people who are working at the PGMOL, the referees, the people in control of VAR, the people, not the system, are ridiculously stupid and inept and incapable of performing their job, or there is some level of corruption in which referees are being given, like, are they being given backhanders, or are they being threatened into doing a certain amount of decisions? The latter one there, I don't genuinely believe in conspiracy theories, because I think it's, when you're looking for a conspiracy theory, it's very easy to take a lot of circumstantial evidence, albeit very compelling circumstantial evidence, and add a little bit of own personal bias and anger and emotion, and you've got a conspiracy theory that can't be unproved. However, when you start to see, and we saw the news that started to come out, that in England, the Premier League faces questions, according to the Mirror here, as blundering VAR duo both worked in the UAE on Thursday. And there's two ways to look at this, so I'll read it through first. Darren England, Dan Cook and Michael Oliver all worked at a game in the United Arab Emirates on Thursday before travelling back for Tottenham Hotspur's clash with Liverpool. The officials at the heart of the VAR fiasco, Darren England and Dan Cook, worked at a game in the United Arab Emirates less than 48 hours before the controversial encounter. England, who was on VAR duty, were at the centre of the debacle that left Jurgen Klopp and fans fuming. Blah, blah, blah. After the game, the PGMOL will apologise, but it's since been revealed that England and Cook were part of a group of English referees who officiated Sharjah's match against Al Ain on Thursday in the UAE Pro League. Michael Oliver was the fourth official and is the person on VAR for Brentford's trip to Forest, was the referee at the game in the Middle East. Now, the top line thing of that is they've been told they can go away and do that. Hey, listen, go and get a little bit of a side earner, absolutely fine, I guess. But they've travelled from across the globe to come back for this game, so you might argue fatigue. I mean, and I suspect that will be pushed a little bit of like, well, you know, they moved a bit jet lagged. They shouldn't be doing that. Maybe we can stop them having little earners on the side. But this is where conspiracy theory comes in, because the refereeing games in the United Arab Emirates, what football team does that country own? Manchester City. I mean, and you commit this stuff to the air, you say this stuff out loud, you go, okay, yeah, it does sound a bit mad and far-fetched. But these are the situations. Whether I'm not saying that Man City's owners have basically pocketed the referees, but you open yourself to scrutiny with the lack of transparency, and when you make absolutely ridiculously stupid, moronic decisions, and not just one, a litany of them, countless of them during a game, your integrity is going to be called into question, and that's why it's going to be interesting to see again how Liverpool take this forward. Just on the escalation improve, Adam Crafton from The Athletic wrote, much sympathy for Liverpool on those calls yesterday, but you can't escalate and resolve a ref's cock up. It's a precedent, and it's a worrying precedent in some regards, because yeah, I mean, where do you draw the line? You know, where do you, is it one referee decision? Does it have to be two bad refereeing decisions? Do we start taking them to court every time they make a refereeing decision? It's a very fascinating, interesting and dangerous time on all ends of this one for whatever they choose to do moving forward. Henry Winter tweeted this: BBC asked me for 5 points to improve VAR. I got to 6 and counting. Number 1, play audio live in ground, giving greater transparency of decision-making process. 2, improve referee standards by investing even more in grassroots, including training up and fast-tracking academy rejects. Introduce semi-automated offside. 4, introduce VAR specialists. 5, limit travel of officials in 48 hours before Premier League game. 6, change rules to allow emergency intervention in 10-second window post-restart. And that, again, it comes back to it. And there's, look, I've heard a lot of rumours and grapevine things about how bad that audio actually would be, and what happened there. And this is what comes back to it. It is mind-boggling that 3 human beings missed that goal was given as offside. They thought that goal had been given. And it goes back to, we have this constant argument around referees and VAR not having played the game and not understanding things like the force, the physics, the biology involved in people running around a football pitch. So we saw Diogo Jota being taken out against Arsenal last season. It was a clear and blatant penalty, and it wasn't given because they just presumed they just judged the action not to be worthy of a penalty. And Jurgen Klopp at the time fuming, saying, "Well, yeah, you now played the game. If you've been played the game, and you know that if you stop and someone barges into you, there's nothing you can do about it. Physics, force, all that kind of stuff." And it makes you wonder whether, like, anyone who's ever watched the game, you can tell. So we watch the game with the volume off because we do the watch along commentary. So we have to look for visual cues of what we're seeing more over than not, even more so. Luis Diaz sticks the ball in the back of the net. I'm jumping around. We're celebrating, and he turns and looks, and he goes, "Huh. Something's happened. I'll pause a second and see if I can see and take in what's happened." And then to then run through it, and at no point did no one in that room go, I think that was given as offside. I mean, did they not get the feed that we all saw where the camera then cuts to the offside flag up? Suspect as fuck, and this is the problem with it, and this is why Liverpool are threatening this, and whether they will or not, I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think the threat of escalation is a bad thing, because it shows that they're not going to be fucked with, and that means that it might put a bit more pressure on. The point is, it's mad that we're here 48 hours later. If there was no problem, they just release the audio, or they do, they've gone to greater lengths to kind of clear themselves on this. But when you do this, they go into batten down the hatches mode, and they've got something to hide. That's how people respond. People who've got nothing to hide come out immediately and go, yeah. If it was a true human error, here you go. Here's how the error happened. Yeah, just listen. Because honestly, the second you hear this, you'll have loads of sympathy for Darren England and his assistants and all that. You'll be able to hear quite clearly that it was just a daft, stupid human error mistake. But they won't do that. No, they're not. They've certainly not done that yet. Jody sent a super chat in here. Thank you so much, Jody. The entire team of those refs have already been called out for poor decisions. This is no means a one-time thing. Yeah, exactly. And they do. They all. You see it happen time and time again. Everyone. And again, this is the thing that we get lost in. Video assistant referee makes it sound like a computer. Makes it sound like Skynet. It's not. It's three more fellas who aren't very good at the jobs, making a lot of subjective calls, which, by the way, it shouldn't be with offside is binary. It's on or it's off. But the fact that, humans can make mistakes, and I think that's absolutely fine. But, yeah, there's more to it than that. There honestly is more to it. I don't know what the idea is. I don't know what Liverpool think what they think they're going to get out of this. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how far they do and how far they can take it. Just in terms of the reaction, Paul Joyce tweeted, Darren England, VAR on the Tottenham Hotspur game, and Dan Cook, assistant VAR on the same game, have been replaced for the Nottingham Forest versus Brentford and the Fulham versus Chelsea matches today and tomorrow night. So that was yesterday. So, I mean, again, admission of guilt, absolutely fine, but this is the thing. This is the punishment. The punishment is you don't get a couple of days work. Stupid. The whole thing's stupid. Absolutely stupid. Couple of follow-on things from this as well. Let me see what else we got here. Oh yeah, the two things we've also seen: Cody Gakpo potentially out for a couple of weeks as well. He could be out for up to 6 weeks. Hang on a second. That is all kinds of pop-ups. Take that off, Tom. That's great. Liverpool await the result of a scan after Cody Gakpo suffered an injury at Tottenham, but the prediction is that he could face around 6 weeks out. He left London in a knee brace after a nasty challenge from Destiny Udogie left him with an injury, so that's a bit crap. One last thing before I do wrap this up. So there's going to be a lot of talk. You're going to see this online. Like Liverpool, it'd be like salty Liverpool fans. And one thing, by the way, I hate this idea of, we used to have this when we just had our referee and they made a decision and that was it. And we used to say it'll even itself out over the course of a season. It never did, but it was like this notion of everyone's equally as fallible. But then they put loads more safeguards in place. VAR is meant to catch things, catch mistakes. And when it starts not, and it consistently starts not, and there's a clear and consistent lack of positive use for it for Liverpool, and that is measured in data, then understandably Liverpool are going to want to take a stand. And as I pointed out before, twice Liverpool have lost the league title by a point. That if certain decisions had gone their way as they should have done, or gone against Manchester City as they should have done, then Liverpool would have won the league title. They're understandably going to dig their heels in, and that's anyway. As I was saying, this is not just pure salty Liverpool bias. There is an article. I'll put a link. I'll put it in the description underneath. But just look for the Tompkins Times on Substack, and he's got an article called Homo Sapiens, Refs, VARs, and Proving Clear and Obvious Biases and Fallibilities, Declassified Data Dossier, which we can get up on the screen now, I think. Tom? Gabbing away. Go and check out Paul Tompkins' Substack. So what he's done is he's looked at 1,200 games at how Manchester City, Man United, Liverpool and Chelsea have been refereed over 1,200 games of football, and worked out what the average is and basically what can be expected from refereeing performances across the board. And the anti-Liverpool agenda is shocking. It is genuinely shocking within there. I couldn't even begin to summarise all of this just here. But yeah, basically from 2015 to 2023, he's gone through basically all the games that these teams have played and drawn some frankly quite shocking conclusions about how few of those big decisions and how few VAR overturns go in Liverpool's favour, which is madness, absolute madness. Yeah, so go and check out Tompkins Times if you want to read and if you want to continue to be more righteously furious about this. Highly recommend it, but an educated righteous fury as opposed to just being dead angry because of headlines on Twitter and things that Gary Neville said. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a variety of different responses to this. You've got Free Django here saying, I'm over this already. We as fans can't do nothing. Managers like Jurgen can't do or say anything. Players like Ali can't say or do anything. Let's just see what bullshit they respond with. And look, yeah, and this is why I quite like the club coming up, because Jurgen said it right. Jurgen can't say anything because they just fine him. And Jurgen Klopp gets made a poorer man, poorer, for speaking out about obvious stupidities. And yeah, Sunil Sarai says they didn't even cover the goal at half-time. Clearly tried covering it. Well, this is the point. Sky didn't have the footage that they needed to be able to analyse it. I believe beIN Sports had it, and maybe Canal Plus had their own as well, but it's wild. Absolutely wild. Yeah, we love Liverpool. You are right, but I think the only justice for that match is to have a replay. This is injustice for Liverpool FC. I don't think they'll be as big as that. It's a shame, but it's mad. It's mad. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, there you go. KGB since Sky's coverage of this has been a shambles. I agree. Plu, Sky has the audio. Gary heard it. He said no when Kelly made their announcements. Yeah, and the audio exists. I think from what I'm told, Sky's got the head VAR to the referee audio, but they don't have the in the room VAR audio. I believe that to be the case. I might be wrong on that, but the point is it exists. The in the room VAR audio exists because they bring it out on that show, don't they, with Howard Webb. So yeah, good sport reviews with Super Chat says, at some point human error is just an excuse for corruption and writing their own narrative. And that's an interesting point on this again. Human error is fine, but again, it goes back to it. There's the idea that there aren't biases in football and people don't have biases is mad. They do. They honestly do. But how do you go about legislating against that? And I think the problem is that the hard thing for Liverpool is that Liverpool's such a big club that it has so many impacts. It's like you hear loads of kind of talk about certain referees who literally do just loathe Liverpool, and it's for a variety of reasons. Maybe they fell out with Jurgen Klopp in the past. Maybe they, maybe a Liverpool fan shagged their mum. You know what I mean? Honestly, it sounds stupid, but these things exist in people's lives. But yeah, so we can't expect total and utter, a lack of bias. But yeah, the amount of decisions that were just so baffling. The Curtis Jones one, the first Diogo Jota yellow card. Joe Gomez doesn't get a penalty. Mohamed Salah gets penalised for nothing. The referee plays advantage with I think Liverpool got 9 men at the time, and Szoboszlai's running through on goal. And instead, once he's running through, he pulls it back and gives us a free kick in the middle of their half instead for the foul on Endo. And the problem is that this is where conspiracy theories come from. So the analogy I often use in these scenarios is, if I was opening up the pub at a pub that I worked in the next day, I would look around and see if it had been cleaned properly the night before. And you can forgive one or two things that have been overseen, but once it gets beyond that, that's when you're making a list. And that's when you're going, well, actually, you left the beer trays full of beer. Well, that's a huge one. Well, I'm not forgiving that. Okay, so what else have you not done? Oh, there's still sugar in the sugar dispenser. You didn't put the lemons and limes away. Oh, you haven't mopped the floor properly. Oh, there's a little sticky patch here. Oh, there's one nozzle left on it. That's when all of a sudden you go through it. And the problem is when you get to huge lists like that, it starts to look like just a little bit more than just a small moment of human error. It's either like widespread incompetence, or it's corruption. They're the literally only two explanations for that. And the idea that 4 people could be so totally incompetent, it's an increase of probabilities. You start to multiply things, and the unlikelihood of 4 people, 5, 6 when you add the assistant referees into it, all getting these things wrong. They need transparency. They need to just come out and be perfectly honest about what they've done and let us hear it all unedited. But I would be astounded if they did that. I really think they do. And the only thing is there maybe some sort of thing where you can force that to be aired. I have got no idea. Project 5 AM says this increases Liverpool's chance of winning the league. Now, see, I think it does in terms of how it galvanises Liverpool, but it doesn't in terms of the reality of Liverpool having less points from football games. That makes it less likely. You're more likely to win the league when you've got more points than less points. And I think that's how Liverpool will see it, given the fact that we've lost titles by a point twice in recent years. Right, cool. Do go and read the Tompkins Times article. If you want to educate yourself on football, you should all be subscribed to Paul Tompkins because he's absolutely brilliant. One more super chat, Jacob Waddell. We need to move towards automated offside with the view to replacing refs entirely at some point. Bring on our robot overlords. Yeah, why not? I'm not against humans reffing football, but I'll go one way or the other. You know what I mean? Have it all be reffed robotically, where there are hard and fast rules. And in which case things like Virgil van Dijk's red card against Newcastle is definitely a red card. In reality, I think there's certain heat of the moment things where you get away with kind of stuff. It's like bringing speed cameras in. You can't argue. You can't plead your case to a speed camera. Now, do we want that in football? In certain decisions, yes. So goal line technology, yes. Offsides, yes. I think there's moments. So, for example, I think the Curtis Jones one, I think a computer would look at Curtis Jones's ankle, foot on his ankle, and go, well, that looks like a red. If computers were that intelligent. Whereas the human element should be able to see it was a 50-50. The force of contact just makes it unlucky, and it's an accidental thing. And because it's accidental, it means there's no intent. And if there's no intent, it can't be a red card. But that's just me. And we got a new member as well. Thank you so much to Just Hannah, who's joined as a wonder kid. Right. Loads to come this afternoon. The Redmen Originals podcast. Needless to say, me and the boys are going to be going in pretty hard on this. So make sure you join us at 2 o'clock live on the YouTube channel or in podcast form after the fact. Other than that, there is the Final Word show, which I suspect will go big on that. That's live at 10:30 on redmenplus.com. Thank you so much for joining me. Have the best possible. I'm still fuming. I'm still so angry. I'm just not that kind of person, but honestly, fuming about the whole thing. If you are fuming and you want people to fume alongside, Final Word at 10:30 on redmenplus.com. Then we've got the Redmen Originals podcast for free on YouTube, and then we've got the Biased Football podcast at about 3:30 on Redmen Plus as well. So that should fill your boots on that. Thank you so much. Have a good Monday. Ta-ra. Hey, thank you so much for checking out the content today. If you want to get your name in and amongst these wonderful people, then head to redmenplus.com. Join as a Legend tier subscriber. You're going to get free merchandise codes. You're going to get in our Discord, and you're going to get your name at the end of YouTube videos. Yes, redmenplus.com.